So structures help you organize your data and give names to each field that you are storing. So variable names are, they reside in your code, but they are not accessible when you are running MATLAB. Okay? Whereas when you are using structures, the values of the fields also become your data. All right. So now in this example, I'm creating a laptop structure where its brand is an Apple. Okay, this is too. Move over here. The projector is getting tired. Okay, better. So when you create a structure using the struct function, you pair up the field name and the value. So in this case, I'm creating a structure with the brand equals Apple, CPU equals 3.3, year equals 2012, and price equals $14.99. And I get this structure. Okay. So on the left-hand side, I have my field names. On the right-hand side, I have the values of each of those fields. And the values do not have to be the same data type. I can have different data types for each field. And as you can see, the Apple is a string, and the other variables are numerical. You can create, you can access elements of structures using dot operator. So laptop.brand will get you the brand field. So you are basically referring to the value of the brand. And that'll give you an Apple, which is a character string. Laptop.brand, you can use the dot operator on the left-hand side. In that case, you are taking whatever is on the right-hand side and placing it in the brand. So you are changing the brand into Sony. But note that actually this will replace the laptop.brand. That's going to be my next example. Okay. You can use dynamic fields, which means you do not have to know the field that you are referring to in advance. And the field that you would like to refer to can be a value inside a variable. In this case, dyn field variable contains a character string price. Okay. And I'm using the value of this variable. That's why I need to place it in parentheses. So instead of dot dyn field, instead of saying laptop dot dyn field, which would assume that laptop has a field named dyn field, which it does not, so you would get an error. Instead of that, I am putting it in parentheses, which forces MATLAB to first evaluate the variable dyn field and replace it with price, which is its value. So when doing this, I'm referring to laptop.price. And I would say laptop.price equals $19.99, which would change the price field. If you try to refer to a field that does not exist in the structure, you would get an error saying that field does not exist. All right? So structures are data types, and there are some useful functions that will tell you whether something is a structure or whether a field is present in a structure. Field names function will take a structure and return a cell array of field names. So field names laptop will tell you which fields that structure has. Struct laptop will tell you whether laptop variable is a structure or not. Okay. Field will take two arguments, the first one being the structure and the second one being a field name, and it will tell you whether that field is present in the structure or not. So it will be true if the field is present, false if that field is not present. Okay? instead of using the dot operator, you can use get field and set field functions. So this is equivalent to saying laptop dot brand. So get me the brand of this laptop. And set field is equivalent to saying laptop dot brand equals Sony. Actually, there's a little difference. When you call a function, you are not really changing your variable. So this will generate a new structure that it will return. And in that new structure, the brand field will be equal to Sony. And your original laptop structure is not modified. If you want to modify your original laptop structure, you would have to say laptop equals set field and so on. Similarly, remove field, RM field will remove a field from your structure. So you are getting rid of the CPU field, but this does not change your original variable. It will just return a new structure with CPU removed. If you want to change your original structure, then you would have to place it on the left-hand side of the equation such that the return structure will be placed into your variable. Okay? A lot of information. Okay. You are not limited to having a single structure. You can create a vector of structures. And we have examples in the homework, in the exercises for these. So the first time that you create a structure, you are getting a single point. In this case, x equals 0. Let me just place it on the top. Y equals 0. And these are two equivalent ways of creating your first element. You can say point equals structure with x equals 0. Or you can say create a structure and place it in the first element of the points array. In both cases, you will get a single structure, an array of structures with a single element in it. And the x field will contain 0, the y field will contain 0. You can think about structures as in terms of having an Excel sheet with a header row. Okay, so the header row, which is the top row that you usually place, gives you names for each columns. Okay, and the rest of your data is inside your structure. All right, so points to the second element of my structure, or the second row of your Excel sheet, if you want to think about it that way, will contain x field to be 1. So you just extended x field 1, y field 0. The third point will be 6, 5. All right? Okay, so that's how I create the structures. By indexing and then assigning a structure on the right-hand side. When you want to refer to the elements of this structure, you can use indexing to refer to an individual structure first, and then using the dot operator to refer to a field of that structure. So this points to will get me the second structure. Dot y will give me the number 0. Well, it's on the left-hand side of an equation. I'm taking 4 and placing it in there, so that will replace that value with a 4. If you do point to equals empty brackets, you are getting rid of the second row. So you are deleting the second row. And your new matrix will have just 2 rows. Okay. If you want to create a structure that has no elements in it, then you can use curly brackets. So I'm creating a structure where x field is a single cell array with a curly bracket, y equals a curly bracket. So this is a special syntax, and it's not very intuitive. I am not really creating a single structure with a cell array in that field. I'm creating an empty cell array. So the result of this will be a 0 by 0 cell array with fields x and y. So let's copy and paste that into MATLAB. Points equals struct x empty bracket y empty curly bracket. So you get a 0 by 0 struct array with the following fields. So you have still defined you have defined the header row in your Excel sheet, but your Excel sheet does not have any data in it. Okay, that's how you can think about it. You have defined what fields you're gonna store in your structure, but you don't have any data in it yet. And then if you place a data points 3, 4.y equals 67, then you are automatically extending your structure array to contain 4 elements. All the elements that you have not assigned a value to will contain an empty matrix. So let's check points 1. It contains x to be an empty matrix, y to be an empty matrix. Points 4 will contain x empty matrix y equals 67, which was the only variable that I assigned. Okay? All right. So when structures are automatically extended, uninitialized entries are empty, meaning they are empty vector and an empty matrix. So if I say new points, the 100th new points is equal to structure x equals 6, y equals 5. I will get a new structure array where each of the rows is empty vector, and the 100th one contains 6 and 5. Okay? All right. So let's do this exercise quickly to give examples of how to access the fields. I'm creating a point structure. The first element will contain x0, y0. The second point will contain x1, y4. And I'm referring to point 1, the first point, and x field, which will give me a 0. If I say point.x, that will refer to all points and try to access their x values. So that will give me multiple answers. Okay? So in MATLAB, you will see ans equals 0 and then ans equals 1. All right? If I want to collect all of these values, I need to place them into square brackets. So this will give me 0 and 1, the x coordinates of my points. So to collect a field of a structure array and create a new vector from them, you would need to enclose it with square brackets. And you will be using this in the exercises. Okay? All right, if you put curly brackets, then you are creating a cell array. So a cell array where the first element will be a number 0, and the second element will be number 1. So if you collect things using square brackets, you are generating a numerical matrix. If you collect things using curly brackets, you are generating a cell array. Let's revisit this laptops example. I'm creating a laptop structure where the first one contains brand Apple, CPU 3.3, year 2002, and price $14.99. And I'm extending this to contain a second laptop where I only set the brand equals Sony. So all the other fields will be blank, will be empty matrix. So brand, CPU, year, and price. So I have Apple 3.3, 2012, $14.99, and the next row, the next structure has Sony as a brand, and everything else will contain empty matrix. So laptops.x, which is not an example here, will give you an error. Let's replace that with laptops.cpu. So you are collecting the CPU, and that'll give you 3.3, which is going to be a single number. So let's make it more interesting and change it to laptops.name. So if I collect laptop.brand, if I collect the brands of these structures using square brackets, I'm basically concatenating all of these names. So it will be Apple and then no space Sony. So it will be a single string that contains Apple Sony. Okay. If I use curly brackets to collect the brands, then I would be getting a cell array where the first element is an Apple and the second element is Sony. Okay. Laptops.year will collect the years, which will be a single number, 2012. Laptops.year will be two elements. The first one being 2012, a single vector. The second one being an empty matrix. So when you use curly brackets to collect fields of a structure array, you would be creating a new cell array with each of the elements in the structure array. If you use square brackets, you are putting things together.